And now, live in studio, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, a real estate and finance expert, and goes to bat for you every day as your consumer advocate. Your host, Brandon Rhymes.
Yes, here we are again, another day committed to picking a fight with the mainstream media and providing you the timely truth centered around your real estate, credit, finance, estate planning, tax planning, family law, and so much more. You're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, where our number one goal is to entertain, educate, and engage in an effort to help you win in any marketplace.
The only thing I'm addicted to right now is winning.
Now, I want you to pull out your smartphone and save our Consumer Advocate Hotline number in your phone. It's 813-917-1894.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
813-917-1894. And we want you to bookmark realestateradiotampa.com. That's our website, blog site, a plethora of information available for you at realestateradiotampa.com. Just click on the Expert Contributors tab. You can see links to all of our preferred partners, see their website, contact information, also blogs about our past shows. And we want you to subscribe on YouTube. Check out our YouTube channel, facebook.com/REQB show, and a lot of information available for you. We want to help you win at any marketplace. We don't care if you're climbing a corporate ladder or if you throw a ladder in your truck on the way to work. This show's for you. And we got an all-star lineup here in studio. And I want to go ahead and round the horn here, introduce our expert contributors. First up, attorney Joe Cairns, Cairns Law. Welcome back in.
Joe Cairns, family law attorney over in Largo. And great to be here again, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Excellent. And also we have a new addition to our team, relatively new addition, MJ Martinez. He's a private investigator with Advantage PI. Welcome back in, sir.
Thank you, Brandon.
Going to have a lot of fun here. Great conversation. It's going to be awesome, flowing information. We're talking about family law, divorce, private investigation, things happening out there in the community and ways that you can protect yourself. Think a layer deeper. We want to make you more street smart here on the Real Estate Quarterback Show. And this segment is brought to you by my health team, consisting of Michael Vogt. He's an expert massage therapist here on Gun Highway, located on Gun Highway, Back in Health Massage. Voted top 10 massage services in Tampa Bay by the Tampa Bay Business Journal's Best in the Biz Awards is Michael Vogt, Back in Health Massage, as well as Ray's Vegan Soul, where I'll hit you with the flavor. Ray Milton is a health chef, cooks these awesome meals for me. And Ray's Vegan Soul, where I'll hit you with the flavor. Check them out on Facebook. Just search Ray's Vegan Soul. And helping my health team. You know, what else do you have in this world if you don't have your health? Former USF football player, go Bulls. So you have a lot of these ailments as an ex-athlete. You know, you keep that body in shape. You're running hard. You're working out. And you're staying optimized. So I love to have the health team helping me out there, and especially with Ray, he puts these awesome meals together. I carry them with me in my meals, with my meal plan as I'm going out throughout the day to my different appointments where I might be meeting potential partners that might want to come on the show or potential listing clients out there running around. It's great to have these great meals in the vehicle with me, and I don't have to pull in those fast food restaurants. So let's go ahead and jump into this great content. Actually, before we do, I got a couple of open houses going on this weekend on Sunday, so I want to go ahead and give you a heads up. These are just hitting the market, brand new properties here at 9036 Moonlit Meadows Loop in Riverview. This is a nice townhouse in the Eagle Palm, 3-bedroom, 2 full bath, 1 half bath, and it's listed at $149,000. And it's over 1,626 square feet heated at 9036 Moonlit Meadows Loop. There's an open house 11 to 2 on Sunday. Also, Town and Country property, Baycrest property here, 8303 Boxwood Drive in Tampa, 33615, 4-bedroom, 2 bath, and listed at $199,000, over 1,840 square feet. And this is one of those bring your boat communities. There's a boat ramp in the community. You can park your boat on the side of the property. There's no HOA rules saying you can't do that. 8303 Boxwood Drive, Tampa. And let's go ahead and jump in. It's great content. We've got attorney Joe Cairns in studio, family law attorney, highly respected here in the Tampa Bay market. Been a while since you've been on the show, man. How you been?
Been pretty good. Everything's been fine over there. I didn't have to take my canoe in to the radio station today. It was nice.
Yeah, right. A lot of flooding here lately. We got, luckily the storm went on by us, and hopefully not too much damage out there.
No, I haven't seen too much. We had the lightning strike near our office, took out a tree.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
we didn't like that tree anyway.
Yeah, that was a good one. So, when you think about family law, what are some of the major misconceptions that you see, consumers making out there, misnomers in the space?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that it has to be this big fight.
Right.
Most of the time, we're trying to kind of talk you out of a lot of the things that you would. Because, there are certain clients who come in where I want the aggressive attorney.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times when you're fighting for the middle, we can't be going overboard because ultimately this isn't a jury trial. I can only imagine a jury trial in a family law case. Everyone's their own little ideas of what should happen coming into it. So ultimately, knowing the personality of the judicial officer or judge that's going to be taking care of your case is extremely paramount. People will call me, well, where do you live? I'm over in Alachua County. Well, my in-laws live there, but I don't know any of the judges, so I don't think I would be the best fit for you. There's certain communities you need a way to navigate the process.
Right.
So when you're talking to an attorney, it is important that they have a personality that you're comfortable with. But sometimes if you want to just go guns blazing into these cases, you can end up hurting yourself more than you're going to end up helping yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine, you want to try to diffuse a situation. You want to try to be agreeable in some areas. It's like, the art of negotiation. I've taken extra coursework in negotiation as a real estate agent, but, everything you're doing from a day-to-day basis, you're negotiating with the judge. Sometimes you may be in front of an arbitrator, mediator, I imagine in some cases. But, it's important to be able to have a mindset of, hey, I'm going to give and take.
And it's not necessarily that I need the judge to completely agree with me. It might be that the court is going to find some sort of middle ground between the two positions.
Right.
Like if one person thinks this is what's best for the kid and the other parent says this is what's best for the kid, it's going to be somewhere in the middle. No one wins 100% of the time. Usually the moniker that we have is that if both parties leave unhappy, that's typically a fairly decent resolution. I try to avoid that by virtue of in the mediation process, coming up with what makes the most sense. Because really, a lot of what I do isn't necessarily applying the law. It's coming up with some sort of pragmatic idea.
Right.
And having an attorney who's done this for a while, has seen different permutations, can start picking and choosing from different things that they've seen and saying, this would probably work better for you. Because if I never see the client again, great. That means that everything's working, everything's going the way it should be. Sometimes it's impossible. Sometimes people need to move. There's a special set of rules for how that works. So it's really kind of important to just make sure that there is a plan of attack, that your client and the client and the attorney are comfortable with that approach, and then kind of stay the course and don't worry about what the other side is saying.
Right.
Most of the time, they're just doing it to keep your blood pressure high.
Right.
That's another one.
To get a reaction.
Just because they say it doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah.
If I'm worried, then you can be worried.
Yeah.
If I start getting worried and you're not, then that's a different problem.
So we're here in summertime, and this is a time, I guess, when there's a lot of the transitioning going on. If it's a custody case, it's you see a lot of that in the relocation side of it happening in the summer. It's June is the hottest month in terms of real estate as real estate sales. What are you seeing in your industry?
It's almost the same as kind of the mortgage broker industry. They see a lot more mortgages coming out now because people want to move if they have kids during the school year. That way there isn't this big interruption in the middle.
Right.
So they try to start planning it like, okay, now we're going to do this during the summer.
Right.
And the law does allow for a relocation case to be done on an expedited basis. Temporary hearings within 30. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. And then a final hearing within 90. So that basically is the summer. So I see an uptick when people are like, hey, listen, I have a better job somewhere else. I need to go, and I need to go now. Okay, well, get in, talk to me sooner rather than later, because it could be difficult. And if you lose that job, you're out of luck. There's nothing, then there would be no reason for the relocation.
Right.
And talk about, if you have a custody agreement where that kid is seeing both parents all of the time, it could be an uphill battle to win something like that. And I'm not going to just show you the sunshine story. I'm going to tell you, listen, these are the problems we have. These are the good things that can happen.
Yeah.
So there's going to have to be a give and take if someone's going to agree, but a lot of times it can end in litigation. But it's a black and white thing. It's if you're moving to Tennessee, we can't agree on southern Georgia, where it's either Tennessee or nothing.
Right.
So it's important to plan those, and it's important to get in front of everything immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Joe Cairns, Cairns Law, Cairns Family Law here in Tampa Bay. And yeah, that's an interesting story when you start thinking about moving out of the state and then potentially, how does that affect the child? And then they would have to just see him maybe during the summer for, 4 or 5 weeks, I guess, in a summer session. So, yeah, interesting. We're going to talk more with attorney Joe Cairns here in Tampa Bay. We're also going to hear from MJ Martinez, Advantage PI, talking about the private investigator side, the behind the scenes of what happens with some of these cases in different ways. And we're going to jump into the big topic, social media, when we come back. Stay with us here. You're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Also on the weekends, we have a show on the 102.5 The Bone Sunday morning. So stay with us. The best is yet to come. You're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, realestateradiotampa.com.
This is Work Done, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes, Real Estate Quarterback Show, Platinum MVP Realty, top listing agent in Tampa Bay, featured in Florida Realtor Magazine, the Business Journal, the Tribune, others recognized for innovations with marketing, helping our sellers profit more on the sale of their real estate properties. And I want to give a shout out to Greg over at Printing Solutions, Inc., digitalprintingsource.com does a great job creating these awesome flyers and postcards, mailers, business cards, pop-up banners, all this cool material for marketing your business. We want to give a shout out to the Real Estate Quarterback Show partner, Greg Geyer. He's with Printing Solutions, Inc., and he's at digitalprintingsource.com. Again, all of our expert contributors can be found on our website. Just click on the Expert Contributors tab at realestateradiotampa.com. We want you to bookmark that site as well as save our consumer advocate hotline number in your phone because at some point you're going to need it. 917-1894.
Welcome to my house.
All right, so the first segment we talked with attorney Joe Cairns, Cairns Family Law, and now we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk to our private investigation partner, MJ Martinez, Advantage PI. What say you, sir?
Thanks, Brandon. Interesting topic, today. A lot of crossover type of information that we can kind of delve into. As a private investigator with a legal background and experience, we come into this type of family law area sometimes early on, before the attorney gets involved, and sometimes after the attorney gets involved. It really, it really depends. I prefer it a lot of times earlier on. That way, when the attorney gets the information, they kind of have something to work with.
Background, yeah.
Correct. They see an uninterested party, who has some actual real perspective as to what's happening in these dynamics, and it can be very volatile depending on the family dynamics.
Yeah, I can imagine. When you're contemplating a divorce, and Joe, we've talked about this on the show before. It seems like it's always after the holidays is the big seasonal push in your industry. So that's true, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's important if you're going to use a private investigator, please don't do it yourself. Because then
absolutely,
then you're following them around, and
Right.
that's not good fun. There's a professional way to do this,
Right.
So either talk to the attorney, or if you're gonna have a private investigator, let them link up, let them talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So MJ, back to you. So when you see this, it's good to collect data. It's good to find out, what the tendencies and the strategies are, when you're looking at this type of scenario. Especially, I guess, number one thing that pops into mind is infidelity.
Correct. Well, that's the red light, and people, sometimes think that's the do or die situation in a relationship. We're done, if this is discovered. But that may or may not be the appropriate thing. That's something to be decided later on. A lot of times I try to just provide the information and try to give the client a cooling off period, so that they're not so responsive right away.
Yeah, reactive, and when you find something out like that, hey, do we want to consider counseling? Do we want to try to keep this family together because of the kids? We've got 1, 2, 3 kids now, and it's a situation where we don't want to pull that apart because of the family unity that is so important for the development of the children.
Correct. It can be very complex, like I said, with the future topic of social media. Much of these apps and things of that nature that people have connectivity with.
Yep.
I've seen, people with multiple, people involved in marriages with multiple extramarital relationships.
Wow.
Not just one, not just two, sometimes 10.
Wow.
Who has the time? Who has the time for this?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
10, wow. That's a busy dude right there.
Right.
Making sure he gets it out there. Wow, yeah, interesting. So let's go ahead and jump into it then. The big topic I kind of joke about the world we live in now. It's a texting, tweeting, and twerking world that we live in. It's the social media, the internet. So let's go ahead and jump into some of that. What have you seen, MJ, in terms of social media? How it affects the dynamic of a case, and what your response would be?
Well, people become a lot more, their anonymity is protected or kind of insulated, more or less, so they can communicate with others in different states, different countries, different areas, right in your backyard, in your neighborhood. It really just depends. With complete anonymity, you create a screen name and you're in the game, It could be the person that you're communicating with, could be, anybody. And you really don't know who that is.
Right.
I've seen, horror stories where people are communicating with people who are very dangerous people. And I've seen it where, it's your buddy next door who comes over to borrow some sugar, but
Can I get a cup of sugar? Hell no, go get out of here. Yeah.
But he usually does it when you're away. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, it's, like I said, it's very complex, but as, a licensed professional who's had, multiple years of experience in doing this, it couldn't be more appropriate to hire somebody like a private investigator who can ascertain the information and then give it back in a more reasonable manner.
Yeah, absolutely. If you just joined us, you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show. Our second brand is the Consumer Quarterback Show, and we want to help you win. We're talking with MJ Martinez, Advantage PI. He's a private investigator. We also have Joe Cairns, attorney Joe Cairns, in studio here, Cairns Family Law. And so, your business model, MJ, is not just into the family law side. Let's kind of touch on that from different perspectives you see. I know last time you were on the show, you talked about maybe a corporation might want to look after their salespeople a little bit closer, find out what
Sure.
they're doing. Let's talk about some of the other applications.
Oh, absolutely. We do what they call bar restaurant integrity investigations, or other types of businesses where you have basically your employees are your lifeblood. They're your representative of you. Small business ventures succeed and fail based on the people you hire and the people who are representing your company and your strategy. And many times people are working for you could be undermining your business, stealing your profits, not portraying your company objective. And really it starts at the top.
Yeah.
We find out from a lot of times managers of these companies are not the most appropriate people. They could have been a friend. They could have been somebody that you put into place that just was not, the best fit.
Yeah.
And you installed your trust into them, and then.
Yeah, it seems like there's ways that if there's a way to scheme it and to try to make it happen, the human condition can find it, right? So these managers that you put in place, there's a way that they can skim. There's then the pharmaceutical rep, those guys are making a lot of money. Different folks that they're going to take the day off, go to the Rays game or something, go to the beach. They should be on task. So you have the ability to follow these folks and find out and make sure that you as a business owner, your assets are being deployed in a proper manner.
Absolutely, yes. We interesting, in Tampa, it's a resort area. A lot of people come here to vacation.
Yep.
The bars and restaurants are plentiful.
Yep.
And these are highly profitable businesses if they're operating correctly, but they can be severely undermined. We've detected in numerous cases, where businesses have been, killed with profit losses,
right?
Feeding, bartenders feeding their friends, drinks or food, or just not doing service correctly.
Yeah, I can see that. And so, MJ, when a business owner might want to reach out, they're going to think about the asset side. If you're talking about a family law case, it's pretty obvious. You're looking at infidelity type stuff. What else are you seeing out there?
Well, in the family law, it's a very broad area as it pertains to child custody, income, employment. There's many times people are once things become accelerated into litigation or pre-litigation, a lot of times people become underemployed. They're not reporting all of their income. They don't show exactly what they're doing, especially if you're self-employed. My business has taken a downturn, but the guy's, got his girlfriend and cars and a condo and everything else all set up. So
cash money. That's all cash. That's off the books, right?
Right. So
We call it recently acquired income deficiency syndrome.
There you go. Right. Oh, they got a name for it now. They got a name for it. Okay.
Yes. All right. So, we detect that. We help people, get to the bottom of exactly what's going on and try to make the playing field level.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a way that you can, reach out to our team here with the Real Estate Quarterback Show, the Consumer Quarterback Show. Click on the website, click on the expert contributors card, reach out, and take these folks up on their services. Joe Cairns, highly respected family law attorney here in Tampa Bay. MJ Martinez, Advantage PI, going to help you, understand some of these underlying issues that may be going on in your business, in your relationship, things happening out there, location of relatives, security equipment. There's different things that he can help you with there. So stay with us. The best is yet to come. We're going to hear more from our attorney in studio, Joe Cairns, family law attorney, as well as MJ Martinez, Advantage PI. We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
This is Work Done, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes here, host of the Real Estate Quarterback Show. Got a hot property here for you. I got 8203 U.S. Highway 301 South in Riverview. This is a food, drink, sell, service, office style, restaurant, bar, retail opportunity. 8203 U.S. Highway 301 South in Riverview. $650,000, 1,900 square foot building. There's 2,500 gross square footage and up to 30 parking spaces in a beautiful opportunity here in Riverview. It's really close to the Alafaya River there. 8203 U.S. Highway 301. Great buying opportunity, as well as our property of the month, South Tampa property of the month here at 414 South Royal Palm Way in Beach Park. 4 bedrooms. 3 full bath, 2 half bath, over 4,800 living square footage under air, and it's listed at $1.195 million. Great buying opportunity here in the Tampa Bay market. And so we're back here live in studio. This segment is brought to you by Cornerstone PEO. Shout out to Greg Arnold. Let him handle your payroll, your compliance, your OSHA compliance, all of the payroll compliance with Cornerstone PEO. Greg Arnold does a great job, and he's a business partner here with the Consumer Quarterback Show. And so we're back here in studio. We're talking with attorney Joe Cairns, Cairns Family Law, as well as private investigator MJ Martinez, Advantage PI. So let's go ahead and jump back on that topic. I know there's a lot of fun to be had on the social media topic, Joe. I know you've seen it in some of your cases. Anything come to mind? Any good funny ones out there?
Well, MJ was talking about the anonymous type people. You'd find out who they are, those types of things. It's the ones that aren't so anonymous. That are the ones that usually end up in my office. And it's the problem is people are like, they get mad watching a movie, they get mad watching something, or they just vent on social media. Yeah. Like any of us care. I mean, a lot of times, okay, there's your point. Next, I mean, people, if you're on Facebook, you do, because you're kind of looking for arguments to kind of get into. You're looking for maybe a different cat video. But, I mean, people throw this stuff online for everyone to see. Yeah. And I think they are under the impression they're talking to themselves, but then it gets printed out. I mean, I had one case. It was 1,000 pages worth of Facebook stuff.
Wow.
1,000 pages. I just simply sent on a request for production. I want all of the Facebooks that you're kind of holding back, waiting for a trial to happen.
Wow.
I got cases of paper. And some of it, maybe a couple of pages I could see being used. But literally, it was like a timeline of everything that this guy did for the past 2.5 years. Yeah. And it's like...
Dear Diary.
Yeah, no kidding. It's exactly what it is. I mean, you have Twitter accounts, people are, posting stuff, and that's even worse because sometimes with the Facebook, because there's a little bit more interactivity with the pictures, that kind of stuff. Twitter, it's and it's out. Yeah. Facebook, you can kind of do the same thing, but I tend to see a little bit more problems with the Twitter. The Facebook problems usually are you got tagged in a picture that you didn't necessarily want to be out there. Right. Oh, can you watch the kids? I have to work this weekend. And then we got you with about a handle of vodka out on the beach. And then you're trying to tell us that you had to work outside when you really have an office job because you have a sunburn that you're trying to explain away. Come on, man. Exactly. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I can only imagine when you're dealing with family law cases, and we're talking with attorney Joe Cairns here, and also MJ. What about you? What have you seen out there?
Harassment cases on social media. We see that often. Sometimes political groups and things of that nature, or social activists, things of that nature. They target somebody, and then they can start, they can kind of make your life miserable. Yeah. We have an expert team that knows how to track all the various social media sites and try to compile this data. Sometimes we have to, find out from whence it came and the identities of the people on the back end, which can be convoluted. Yeah. But we're experienced in doing that.
Yeah, there's a whole MTV show about that. I guess it's called Catfish, I believe. They think they're in this relationship with these people, and then it ends up being a completely different look of the the picture that's on there, or sometimes it's a false identity straw buyer type situation. Mm-hmm. But so what else are you seeing in the social media space with your private investigation business?
Well, with the dating sites particularly, you have to be really careful because of the if a person starts asking for money. relatively quick in the game, then your red flag should definitely be up. We've traced. There's groups of predators that will do this, and they're from all over the world. We've traced them from the UK, from Africa, from
What do they do?
the Middle East. They engage people, and unknowing people who are not savvy with the internet, with these sites.
Right.
They prey on their insecurities and weaknesses.
Right.
And you'd be surprised how people who are embarrassed to come forward. They call me, and they're embarrassed about their situation, but their naivete got them into it. So
right, and these days you can electronically transfer money through PayPal or Venmo. There's a bunch of different apps. So is that what they try to do? They try to get the account numbers for them, or
yeah. Well, you'd be surprised how many times people just send them the money.
they'll just give it to them.
They wire the money. They send them some pictures. They'll even be able to call them from a telephone number, usually pre-programmed through an app or through some sort of other bank that's non-traceable, and so they have a live voice that they're talking to. Maybe they might even be on a webcam, and the person feels engaged. They feel like they can trust the person, and they're gone. Wow. They usually find out, okay, I'm a widower or a widow, somebody who came into a windfall,
right,
and bam.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I need it for this reason or that reason, and they try to appeal. They'll probably do some background search on the person and try to appeal to whatever they're posting on their pages.
Exactly.
And say, oh yeah, do the same thing over here. The old feel, felt, found, or like me type of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting. The world we live in is such a strange world, man.
And it's not a couple of $100. It
No.
could be $10, $20, $30, $40,000 that just gets sent over there under the auspices of something else is going to happen down the road.
Right.
I mean, actually, when I'm typically using private investigators, it's not from the infidelity side because that'll have less of a relevance in the case.
Right.
In the old days, maybe that had some bearing on things. When I'm using them, it's typically for the financial type things. Although when a new client or someone like that has a new girlfriend, if we do a background check or a boyfriend, that's important because if this guy turns up with all these priors, all the sins of this new person are going to be thrown on my client as if she's not going to protect the kid, or he or she is not going to protect the kid because this new person's here and she didn't do her due diligence.
Right.
And then from the monetary end, you're absolutely right. You have someone who's supposed to be making a lot of money because you see all this stuff all over the place. Then you have tax returns that say nothing. I have to use a private investigator to fill in those gaps with the information that I don't think they're going to provide me, or I may not have immediate access to.
Yeah.
Because they can do it under my work product. That's an important thing to know.
Yes.
A private investigator, I don't need to disclose that necessarily. But if I send out a request for production that's public, that everyone gets to see, then we're going to start moving stuff around, so I don't necessarily get to see it. The private investigator gets a hold of it. I already have it. Then I can send out a request for production, and when I get a bunch of lies back, what do you think about this? I usually get a settlement offer in those situations.
Wow.
Which is nice.
Yeah, they're ready to settle at that point, right? So it's kind of like a fiscal audit. They're going to go out and they're going to audit. They're going to do some background checking. And what's your comments on that, MJ?
Yeah, actually, he brought up a good topic with the work product. Confidentiality between, if the relationship in the cases between the attorney and the private investigator, it's much more secure type of relationship. So typically that's a strategy that's used especially in cases where there's assets on the line or just information that we need to protect.
It allows you to swing and miss, because if you have a private investigator following someone around, it can look bad. It can look like you're snooping, that you're digging for something that may not be there.
Yeah.
So if the private investigator is under the work product privilege and they come up and say, listen, a lot of times that really is the answer. I don't have anything. There's really nothing here. You can pull him off. You're never going to use him. He's buried. The other attorney can't ask, did you have a private investigator? It's attorney-client privilege. It's work product. And you can just say, I don't have to tell you. And it could be that you didn't have one or you did have one.
Right.
But then you don't have to go through the whole, you were snooping around. You think I'm doing something. You really are this paranoid person that I've been trying to project as far as whether it be custody, alimony, you name it.
Yeah, because you got to prove it at that point, right?
Oh, yeah.
You have to prove it.
Hopefully the private investigator, it's worth his wear the operative word was private and doesn't get detected going in to the process. That's typically what you wanted.
No blue Cadillac.
Blue Cadillac.
Parked
pink
right.
Cadillac. Yeah.
I mean, another interesting area I've seen cases in. I don't know if you've seen it. Certain people of certain religious denominations or sects, they can be divorced in the eye or in legal terms, but in the eyes of their church or religious belief, they have to actually have documentation of a person with the other person outside of their marital relationship. Until that happens, they're
Prove it to the court or to the religious faculty.
Yeah, correct.
So stay with us. Hey, more from our experts in studio. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show and realestateradiotampa.com.
This is Work Done, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes, Real Estate Quarterback Show, Platinum MVP Realty. And this segment is brought to you by our official restaurant partner. It's Hula Bay. Great waterfront dining, beautiful ambiance down in South Tampa, located on Tyson, just south of Gandy off of West Shore there. Beautiful location, waterfront dining, great food. And go say hello to Mike Finnegan over at Hula Bay. And we're back here in studio live from iHeartRadio, beautiful South Tampa here. And we're talking with family law attorney Joe Cairns, Cairns Family Law, as well as MJ Martinez. He's a private investigator here, Advantage PI here in Tampa Bay. So we're talking about social media, talking about some of the other things, some of the things that are impacting families. And, you know, Joe, in the first segment, you talked about how, the importance of your position as an attorney. You could be working with the wife, could be working with the husband. It's important to maintain that civility in this process to try to make sure, for the kids' sake, and I think in America, I think it's well documented. I guess over 50% of families now are divorced. So, I'm sure you're working with counselors in some cases. You want to talk about that side of it a little bit?
There's a couple of different options we have. I mean, certainly counseling can be something. I mean, if it's about, hey, listen, they want to try to repair the marriage, great, okay. But both parties need to be willing to do it.
Right.
If you have one person who doesn't want to be there, it can become an even more volatile situation because they're going to use it as an airing of the differences. It's not going to be counseling. One person's going to say, that's never happened, and they leave storming off.
Yep.
But two of the tools that we use, particularly in situations, because the legal context on a family can sometimes be a square peg going through a round hole.
Yeah.
The court isn't allowed to hear hearsay statements, but we don't want to have the children involved in going to a court, talking to a judge all the time. So a lot of attorneys will do what's called guardian ad litem work, where they basically represent the children. They investigate the situation, interview the parties, talk to the children, review usually innumerable emails between the two, and kind of digest it in a way that I can make a recommendation to the judge. The judge gets the ultimate say. I can't overrun the ability, the fact that they are put in a position to make the ultimate decision.
Right.
But it allows it to basically take all the information, facilitate it in one kind of center, and give a recommendation on what should happen. Whether it's a post-judgment case, after the divorce, and we're trying to kind of clean things up, or a situation where there's a lot of debris flying in the air, what's put into one kind of package, figure out what would work the best. Mm-hmm. And then in situations where it's mostly communication issues between the parents, whether it be a paternity case or a divorce case, what they do is they sit down almost as a counselor, but their goal is not to get them back together. It's to sort out the communication issues so that when the kid has to go to the doctor, there isn't going to be World War III as to, okay, who's the pediatrician? How do we work this out? Who sets the appointment? Does it always have to be on either parent's schedule? How do we work that out?
Right.
Because those little things can be extremely expensive for an attorney who is not a psychologist to start working out with either a judge or another attorney.
Right.
This person for a couple of grand might be able to facilitate all of that rather than 10 or 20, and maybe you don't get maybe you get something that really neither one of you like.
Yeah, and it is those decisions. That's what happens. You have the chorus, you have the football practice, baseball, the different musical, whatever type of event the children are going to be in. The doctors, the pediatrician, the dentist, the orthodontist. A lot of different communication. How do we handle that? Do we do an email? Do we text? I imagine that's what they kind of get into. What is the mode of communication?
It's gotten down to the minutia of what kind of baseball glove are we going to get him? Is it going to be a Mizuno or is it going to be some other kind? I don't know. I said, why don't you ask his baseball coach? Well, I don't really like the baseball coach. Well, then this person can sit down with them and see, okay, what is the underlying issue? Because a lot of these people that do the parent coordination type work, they usually have a dispute resolution background, not necessarily a legal background.
Right.
They allow the parties, usually absent the attorneys being present, to kind of work through the smaller stuff that we not under either time constraints or monetary restraints can't get done.
Yeah, to get off the billable clock, so to speak, and to try to help it, the facilitate the whole transaction as I say transaction like a real estate transaction, but I guess it somewhat is. But okay, yeah, I mean that's a good point, Joe. Family law attorney Joe Cairns. Now switch gears. Let's talk back with MJ Martinez, Advantage PI. What else are you seeing out there, MJ? What do you think is a good point that we want to bring up as far as a consumer tip?
Well, just jumping on to the topic that we're at hand.
Yep.
Yes, I'm familiar with these family advocates. Like they're typically specialized, trained in conflict resolution, things of that nature. A lot of times, as an investigator, we're brought in because there's both sides are still providing their side of the story, and then we bring in, okay, this is what's really happening,
right?
And then hopefully they can come to some resolution. It's interesting, the courts. I mean, the word custody is the buzzword. They've tried to soften these words in shared parental responsibility and things of these natures to try to take out the adversarial nature of this process.
Right.
But the bottom line is we're dealing with people and emotions and children particularly. So
if the emotion can be stripped out of it, it makes it a lot easier. Then it becomes a little bit more like a business transaction. Okay, how do we get this done? If the emotion is still there, which is usually more present during the beginning, that's what MJ was talking about.
Yep.
We might have to slow the case down just so everyone can kind of cool off.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of that, we had Peter Macaluso, immigration attorney, here in studio a couple weeks back, and he was talking about the extreme backup of the court cases. They were scheduling cases. I think it was for 2017 already. Like as far as the courts backing up, does the family law court get backed up like that as well?
It depends on actually where you're at. I mean, and it may not be true, but I can feel that like Tampa, it's a little bit more difficult to get a hearing because of it's the amount of population that's going through there. Plant City is sometimes can be very quick. Certain judges take over calendars that are sometimes you get lucky because it's basically spinning a wheel on what judges you're going to get.
Right.
It's not like you get to pick. And for good reason, because if you got to pick, then you would cherry pick where you want to go, thinking that personality is going to work for your case better.
Right.
So there are a backlog. I would say that if you're starting a divorce case and you're saying, oh, we're not going to be able to settle this, it's probably going to go through trial, depending if it's a regular case, probably a year. If it's a little bit more complicated, like a year and a half. And if you got money and businesses and all over the place, I mean, you could be. I mean, there's one out there that was like 8 years long.
Wow.
And it took a month to do a trial. I mean, it varies. And when you talk to an attorney, you should ask them, okay, hey, listen, if this goes all the way to trial, what am I looking at? I know you can't. It's like if I was quoting.
Yeah.
I always tell people, I don't know if I'm quoting you on a outhouse or a shopping mall.
Yeah.
If it's an outhouse, I know it'll cost around this amount. But I can't tell you till later it's going to be like a shopping mall. So it is important to ask your attorney, what's a variance on this? Attorneys hate giving you that information.
Yeah, the high-low.
Because they don't want to be wrong or give you some sort of bill of goods that then you're going to go, wait a second, you said it's going to be that. It's important to know that we can't give you an exact figure.
Yep.
But when you're planning for this, you may be willing to settle for something if it's going to cost you $25,000 to go into a courtroom.
Yeah.
So that's an important question to ask when you're there. Just, what should I be preparing for?
Diminishing returns is typically the term.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it, does it sometimes weigh more on the male versus the female if they're the income earner? I mean, because they're the ones having to put money forth for a lot of the expense side of it, or do you see that more so?
I don't think, because the law says that they're supposed to go in one direction or
I
the other.
think it does. If you I tell clients, you can expend this amount of money right now. Okay, maybe you're in a situation where the child's only a year or two old.
Yep.
You're looking at 17, 18 years of payment. If you do this, put this in right now, this could save you exponentially over the term of your.
Right.
I mean, it's economics.
Real quick, we got about a minute left. I wanted to touch on prenups. What's the idea about a prenup? Are they valid? I mean, it has to be structured properly?
You don't want to show up at the attorney's office 3 days before you're about to get married. You should be going, if you're going to get a prenup, and here's the reason why you need them. You can't figure out what time sharing is going to be in a prenup.
Right.
Like if you already have kids and now you're getting married and those are your kids, there's really nothing you can do there because the court ultimately has to make a determination on best interest. Those are for preserving assets or figuring out how money is going to be distributed when there's a divorce. So typically those are going to be in cases where there's property that's non-marital, those types of things.
Right.
But if you're going to do a prenup, start the process no later than 90 days before you're about to get married.
Right.
That way the attorney can get everything ready. Because if you came into my office and that's a month away, I may not be able to give the other party enough time to read it, understand it, and go to an attorney, because there is no more expensive process than when someone tries to overturn one of those things. And they may try, but if you have them on videotape signing this thing, they had plenty of time, they talked to an attorney, it's not going to be undone.
So it's not just a Kanye West song then?
No.
All right. No, we have a little fun here with the show. And,
well, my mother said, well, what do I need a prenup for? All I got were your socks. You came in with nothing.
Well, I want to thank Attorney Joe Cairns for coming in, family law attorney. I want to thank MJ Martinez, private investigator, Advantage PI, for coming in. I want you to go out there. Thank our listeners as well. Thank you for our viewers and listeners. And please go out and consider making a random act of kindness. We'll see you next time.